Somebody told me that Bob Carter is the longest-serving automotive executive in the industry, which can't be true because a guy with a cool man cave down in Texas, a whole set of awesome motorcycles, and a youthful spirit can't be more than a day over 40. So we'll call him a young, long-standing executive then. But we all know Bob is Executive Vice President of Sales for Toyota Motor North America, and in that role, he's responsible for sales, marketing, there you go, distribution, and customer service for Toyota and Lexus brands. But he's so much more than that. Dealers in the room know that he is a dealer guy, and he is someone who has perspective on this business. Here to offer us some of that, please welcome my good friend, Bob Carter.
Time spot.
Oh, no. It's great.
4:30 on a Tuesday afternoon.
We're just getting warmed up. We'll be here till 7 or 8 o'clock tonight.
All right.
With drinks. Congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Deidre and the team, they do a really nice job supporting the Olympics.
Yeah.
So her team is just starting to look at Paris in 2024.
Incredible.
That's a really good global promotion for us.
And let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. What does it do for you? And I know obviously we went through the fits and starts of the last couple of years, but we finally got there. But what does it do for you in America?
Well, it's a great advertising tool, but really the way we treat it, we take the geopolitical scenario out of it, particularly with China, and then we had COVID with Japan, and we really make it focused about the athletes.
Yeah.
And when you hear the athletes and their stories, particularly the para-athletes, it's a wonderful opportunity to engage with these athletes. Our dealers do a great job supporting them, and it's a great promotion to attach your brand to.
Yeah, wonderful. You and I have sat on stages like this just a couple of times. We haven't sat on a stage after having gone through what all of us have gone through. And I mentioned your tenure at Toyota. It's a couple of years now. So how'd you deal with it all?
Well, if you would have went back 2 years ago and you would have said we could run these companies virtually and still support the customers and dealers, I'm not sure we would have all been convinced that we could do that. But given our backs to the wall, I'll never forget April of 2020 when retail demand collapsed. But at the same time, this was unlike any other crisis the industry has gone through. COVID collapsed the retail demand in April of that year, but it also required manufacturing to shut down. What we fully didn't realize at the time was the damage that was being done to the global supply chain. And that's what we're living with today, trying to dig our way back out. So the industry knows how to deal with crisis because when we end a crisis, normally there's a glut of cars.
Yep.
This is the first one that I know of where we came out of a crisis and there's an undersupply of cars.
Yeah, it's a supply problem, right? And actually, you've got to go back about 30 or 40 years to back when Toyota was first coming into the market. And our good friend, our dealer, Don Flo out of North Carolina, talks about this being very reminiscent of the mid-'80s, mid to late 80s, maybe early 80s.
Yeah.
And it was all it was a supply problem. So dealers were having a great time.
Well, I think we're in that environment now, and we're going to be there for quite some time. We look at the overall economy, and quite frankly, we can argue that there's retail demand out there for consumers anywhere from 16.5 to 17 million.
Yep.
But we recently revised downward our SAR forecast this year to 15.5.
15.5, yeah.
And that's based on, for the first time that I remember, it's not based on consumer demand.
Yep.
It's not based on the economy. It's based simply what we think the industry can produce this year in the US. And a lot of that depends on the supply chain. So it's going to be a good, it's a great year for dealers. It's a great year for OEMs. It's a tough time to buy a car, but it's a great time to be in the car business. I've said this time and time again. From an OEM perspective, I've never experienced this many problems but we don't have a single complaint. We're all blessed to be in this business.
Yeah. Well, and there's a story that you told me when I visited you in Texas in November, and you said whenever you go to a dealership, right, the dealer principal thinks cars are going to show up all of a sudden. Yeah. And in some cases, some cars do show up just by happenstance, and they go, well, Bob's here, now we got some cars finally, and they're buying them off the truck.
I do that intentional. I call the trucking company and say, when are you going to drop a load of cars off so it's safe for me to go in to see the salespeople? But
that makes sense. You made a little news in a certain trade paper yesterday when you said normalized demand is 30 days. You're going to aim to be 30 days on hand going forward. And you said even when stabilization of the supply chain, not necessarily going back to 40 to 45 day strike zone, as you called it.
yeah.
Want to elaborate?
So, yeah, be happy to. And this is part of the learning. I think everybody that's in this industry learned, but we don't need 60, 70, 90-day supply. At Toyota, historically, we always tried to manage our business a little bit different because we have a throughput model. We want we want the smallest group of dealers doing the highest volume through each. We targeted between 40 and 45 days supply, while most of the industry was at 60 to 70 days supply. Pre-COVID, 40 to 45 days supply, and I'll speak to just Toyota side, that would be between 280 and 300,000 units, depending on the seasonality. We get to summer, maybe it would creep up to 320,000. Today, we're sitting with about 10,000 units.
Wow.
Or we closed the month under 2 days supply. I don't think we need to go back to 40 or 45 day supply. I think what we've done, both retail and wholesales, we've made our system so much more efficient that I think we can go back that maybe the new normal is 30 day supply. You know, we'll have to get there, but I must say that 30 days supply isn't going to happen this calendar year, not for Toyota, and I don't believe it's going to happen for any OEM in the industry.
You said in Automotive News that 30 days was nirvana, is what you said.
Yeah. It's, I hope that we're going to get to normalized production by the fourth quarter. But normalized production does not mean normalized inventory. I think that, that it's going to be deep into 2023, maybe even going to 2024 before the industry starts talking 30, 40 day supply. The damage to the supply chain has been that severe.
Wow. Let's talk luxury for a moment. Is the same when we talk in those kind of generalities? I think a lot of us gravitate toward the volume side of the industry. But from a luxury standpoint, is there any difference? Do you see that more constrained, less constrained? What happens with Lexus?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good about Lexus. I just walked the show, and I think Lexus is the only luxury brand that's on display over at Javits Hall. So we're okay with 100% market share of the New York luxury market. I don't know for those.
If everybody wants to step out, Bob says I'll be there.
Joking aside, auto shows are coming back, and it really feels good to have a presence in the auto shows. It's been 2 years it's been missing here, but what we're seeing around the country is auto shows from a consumer perspective are becoming even more and more important.
That's true.
We're seeing on the markets that we have comparisons, we're seeing attendance go up 20 to 25%. And in today's environment, they're not going to go to your store to see inventory, unfortunately, there's no inventory, but it's a great place to shop. So we're bullish on Lexus, the product cadence that's coming in the future.
We've got a lot of stuff coming that's pretty exciting.
So, and the luxury market is the fun part of the market. So, again, I scratch my head. Where's Mercedes and BMW over at the Javits Center? But that's okay.
Well said. New innovations at the dealer level. How are you improving the customer experience, whether it's ETA or digital retailing?
Well, one of the things that we've been historically poor about, and our dealers know this well, is ETA. Being able to communicate with the customer exactly when the car will arrive. It's been a difficult challenge for us. It's been one of the top 3 issues on our dealer council for at least 5 years. We just introduced a new ETA system to our dealers. It's still being rolled out across the country. We're getting great feedback, but finally we have a system within a 48-hour period of time that if you sell a car that's in your pipeline, you can communicate to the customer visually and say, your car is going to be here the 3rd week of the month with reasonable accuracy. That was one of the things that we had to accelerate because of the current situation. Beyond that, what we've done is, we've created a dealer process that we call Smart Path, and on the Lexus side, it's called Monogram, to help dealers come into the world of digital retailing. And we did this specifically for Toyota and Lexus dealers. They had a very loud voice. We're launching it. We have about 200 stores up and running at this point. It's very training intensive to get your sales force in this environment. But what we're saying is it's not a one-size-fits-all. What we're encouraging all dealers is you need to have a digital retailing presence. If Smart Path and Monogram is the right thing for your store, great. That's why we built it. But if you determine that it's not the right thing for your store, we encourage you to go out and shop the dozens of other industries out there and website suppliers. It is the way of the future. It's not going away.
With so many customers going online, are you still going to require facility upgrades? This is the point of the program where we start making news.
Well, I'd like to think, and there's many dealers in the room, that we don't put the heavy hand on facilities like some OEMs. Our philosophy, my philosophy has always been, if you have a good partnership with dealers, you provide the throughput, you focus on the reasonable rate of return for your stores, you don't limit dealer profitability, facilities, pay plans, everything's going to happen organically. But clearly what's important in this business, and which I think is going to be a competitive edge against any franchise that's out there contemplating going direct sales, is going to be that service department. So yes, we still are going to have guides. We still need to have a robust service facility, because quite frankly, that's the competitive weapon that direct sales can't compete with. I'm probably unique in the industry because I've said this many times. Give me one reason why you think direct sales is the direction of the future, and I'll give you 20 reasons why I think it's a complete disaster waiting to happen. But time will tell.
You're going to break your business into 2 different units? You're going to break out the EV business?
We'll let Ford tackle that one. Quite frankly, our look, again, we look at ourselves as being in the electric business since 1997 with the Prius. Today, 26% of our sales are electric vehicles, whether they be hybrids, plug-in hybrids, or we're just shipping in the next 60 days our first BEV. So we just see this as a transition and an extension to our current business. It's our dealers and our partnership with our dealers is our competitive edge. It's been that way in the past. It will continue to be that way in the future.
What's a lot of talk, obviously, today. You and I were chatting about it before we came up about EVs. It's everywhere. But give me your view of the landscape for the industry. What is the curve that you see in terms of adoption?
So I will tell you that it's inevitable that electrification is the future. Take a point of time that's beyond controversy. 2040, 2035, EVs are the future of this industry. The only thing that's debatable is this rate of transition. And quite frankly, it's why I feel so positive in the partnership that we have with Toyota and Lexus dealers, because as a brand, we don't have to flip a switch one day and go from ICE directly to BEV. We have hybrids and a very robust hybrid and plug-in hybrid business that, quite frankly, as I mentioned, was 26% of our business last year, and it could have been 40% if we build that. So our strategy is to continue to increase our hybrid and our plug-in hybrid business, as well as fuel cells in California, and then strategically enter the BEV market when the consumer is there for it. So we have a transition plan. I think it's in line. We're looking to be about 50% of our volume will be electrified by 2030, and that's including the EVs and PHVs. But I think the regionalization that we see today, if you're in Southern California or in Santa Monica versus Omaha, Nebraska, the market's going to develop at two completely different rates. And that's where I think that our portfolio of powertrains, I've said this before, I want to be the Macy's department store of powertrains. I think that that's the successful way to really approach this, the future. And that's the path we're on.
So there's been so many proclamations of we're getting out of the the ICE business. We're going to stop producing, and that's sent shockwaves through the supplier system, as you know, and probably a couple of dealers who are concerned about that. You're not making that.
No, you won't hear that nonsense from us. We're in the customer business, and I said jokingly, I'm okay with 100% market share of ICEs, but what you will see us happening is a couple of our models right now. Toyota friends here know this, but we introduced the Venza. It's only available with a hybrid powertrain. Sienna, in this current generation, problem with the Sienna is we can't build them fast enough. It's a 100% hybrid. We're introducing the new Sequoia at the end of this month. So you'll see us transition to our base powertrain, may be a hybrid, but we'll follow the market, and at the end of the day, the consumer will make the decision, when we'll enter or exit the ICE. We're not going to put an artificial target out there and say it's going to happen by 2028. It's not realistic in the market that we're in.
There you go. Tesla, give me your view of Tesla. How is...
I can't. I've been wrong so many times. But I am very sincere when I say, and I can't help it, I read all the industry forums. I think this isn't a Tesla comment, it's a direct sale comment. I think the Achilles heel in this industry is the lack of servicing. We have one of the smallest dealer bodies in the industry. And we have about 1,230 Toyota stores in the US and about 240 Lexus stores. Call it 1,500. As you guys know, the average dealer out there has about $20 million invested in their land and facility. So why would I even want to entertain 1,500 stores at $20 million? That's $30 billion in investment. We deeply respect the investment that we got from our dealers. So even if we were contemplating, which we absolutely aren't, where's the best place for us to spend $30 billion? Is it to go out and try to duplicate and compete with a very successful retail franchise? Or should we take that $30 billion and invest it in product in the future? And that's where you see us going. So long answer to your question. You've got to respect, I respect Tesla in terms of the product and the sales that they're doing. But on the long term, I think the dealer franchise model is going to be the real differentiator in this industry.
And not to mention the fact that with some startups, as being witnessed right now, making cars is hard, right, Bob?
I can't answer that because I forgot how to do it over the last 6 months. So Yeah, this is one of the most regulated businesses in the world. So it's very, very difficult to manufacture cars at scale. We've been very fortunate. We had a good market share year in 2021, a very good share in the first quarter of 22. But I've given a lot of that credit to our purchasing department that's located in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Frankly, that group of people didn't get a lot of sleep over the last 18 months, but they pulled rabbits out of their hat, and then we gave it to the finest and most efficient dealer group in the world. So sales last year was, if you could build it, it would sell. And this is a unique time that I think we'll all remember in this business.
Yeah, no kidding. What excites you? I mean, I mentioned in my opening the years that you've had at Toyota and certainly the perspective that you've gained. What is it that excites you the most about where we sit today?
Well, it's two things. It's product, and product. I mean, product, what drives this business. Somebody out there is selling these conference room tables and chairs, and I'm very thankful that every day I chose to be in the auto business, and the relationships that this business generates. I've had the opportunity to know many dealers here in New York. I was located here for about 8 years of my career and throughout the country. But what drives this industry, in my view, is simply the products and the relationship. And I've thoroughly enjoyed every moment that I've been in this business.
Can we end on the man cave, please? Because I started with that, and you invited me to see it. It was a little project that you worked on during COVID, right? Fill the audience in a little. And you also talked about it with Larry Veliquette on Automotive News' Daily Drive. But
so in this business, and for the last 40 years, and many of that, you tend to do a lot of travel. And I traveled for averaging somewhere between 180 and 200 hotel rooms a year.
Was that all?
And, it just gets to the point that you get used to it. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, and that travel stopped. The first dinner party my wife had, she goes, I found the good thing about COVID. And everybody looked at her and says, what do you mean? She said, well, Bob, we know that Bob can actually spend some time at home, and we're not going to be featured on a Dateline segment. But very quickly, I knew I needed a project, and I always wanted to have a shop where I could keep all my mementos from racing in the car business. So I built a shop. 14 months later, I did most of the labor myself with some help from Zarnowski, which works in our auto show business. And it's just a fun place to hang out. So I got a place that Saturdays, Sundays, I invite friends over, pizza, beer, we watch some racing or some football. So it's a cool spot.
What do you think of EVs in the racing side? I mean, you've been such a racing guy your career, and I know that has a lot. There's a lot of pride there for you.
Yeah, eventually, but it will happen, and electrification will happen, but it will take some time to evolve. You miss that smell, the sounds,
Sure.
The visceral part of racing. And so it will happen, but I think it's going to take a time to develop.
Wonderful. It is so good to be here with you again, Bob. It's great to be in person. Bob Carter, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.